All right, guys, welcome to another hangout. I haven't done one of these in a while. It feels like I don't think we've done one of these since, when was it? I think the last hangout that we did was the Honduras game, like right after the Honduras game. How's everybody doing? Kevin, Shinjo, Mark, Il Padrino, Yosef S says Hoppy had a good goal today, but offsides. Yeah, he did. I really enjoyed Hoppy's performance today, and we'll talk a little bit about him later. But yeah, I really liked him as well. He was super good, I thought. How's everybody feeling? Enjoying the weekend, chilling out, enjoying life. It's good to see it. Good to see everybody here having a good time, talking already. Oh boy, that's not what you want. There we go. Yeah, Roshat. Hey Pete. Hey, how's it going? Wham Charles. How you doing? Rogelio Zavala Cabrera. Please tell me if I pronounce that right. I'm taking Spanish lessons, guys. I don't know if you know. So test me on my Spanish, which is not very good. Michael Trask. Tamale Killer. What's up, Pete? How you doing? Mbouts. Musa, right winger. He plays there for Valencia sometimes. Kevin Polite says, Pete, you've been watching any NFL? I don't really watch NFL, guys. I can't get into it. So States FC, what's up, guys? If I haven't said this already, go subscribe to States FC channel. He does great stuff. Jake Anderson, hey Pete, what's good? It's good to see all you guys here. I feel like it's been too long since we actually did a live hangout like this, and I miss it. I miss hanging with you guys. Michael Trask, you're a snob. I think it's just because I didn't play growing up. I think the problem is with any sport, if you don't play it growing up, it's harder to get into later. You know what I mean? Roger Leonard, how's it going, Pete? Joseph S says Dest at right midfield and Scally at right back. I could see that at some point, for sure. I can see that. Yeah, guys, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about the whole Jesse Marsch situation, which is, it started interestingly for him over in Leipzig. We're going to talk about, some performances over the weekend, and we're going to talk a little bit about the October roster. So definitely a ton to talk about. Talk about 3 Americans on the 2021 Golden Boy 40 list. All right. We're definitely going to talk about that too. Scam likely. GGG out. Shadow. Kevin Paredes. All right. I did not watch Chelsea today, States FC. I struggle to watch teams when the Americans don't play for them. And there's so many Americans I want to watch that I don't even get to watch. So when there's no Americans there, that's when I struggle to watch them already. I already don't have enough time. But I did watch Kevin Paredes play for DC, Shadow. So I thought he was pretty good. I like Kevin Paredes. He is. Hey, Benji, I'm Max at Football. How you doing? You ready for the USA, Jamaica? 2 weeks, guys. Not even 2 weeks before that first game. Benji, Football G, what do you think about Tomas Romero? Let's start here. Tomas Romero, I liked him before, and I still, he's a young goalkeeper with a lot of potential for sure, but he's still learning, and you see him making, mistakes, right? And you see him having moments where you wonder, maybe that was a bad decision, or sometimes his movement is a little too overeager, which can happen with, young keepers. Maybe they're too quick off their line, or their positioning off their line isn't good. But he's so young. He definitely has a ton of potential, and he does want to, play for the U.S., it seems like, because he's holding off on El Salvador calling him up because he still wants to, maybe get a shot with the U.S. someday. Taylor Aldridge, Pete, opinion on sensitive wall blocking TM. James Martinez, won't be able to join tonight, but I'm leaving the ceremonial like and comment. Keep up the good work, Pete. Thanks, James. Good luck with whatever you got going on. Stream HD. Hi, everyone. Sensitive wall. Yeah, that's Grant Wall. He's blocked a lot of people as far as I know. I think him and 343 compete for blocking the most amount of people from what I understand. So that does not really surprise me. And Tack is, how Tack is, how Filippo is. That he had that one coming at some point. I'm not particularly surprised with blocking, in my opinion. And I'm guilty of this too. You should only block somebody if they're actually harassing you, or they're, coming at you in an aggressive way for no reason, and it's persistent, I don't think I've blocked people for less, so I'm probably the last person to talk. But I think if you don't like somebody's whatever, you can mute them. Like, you don't have to see their tweets. Blocking someone is intense, you know. Jonathan Tozy said Musa was terrible today. I didn't think he was terrible today. I thought he had a few moments where he could have been better, but I thought he was mostly good. Why are you drinking out of that container, Pete? That's a red card. It's my water. The biggest water thing I have, so it keeps me hydrated. Okay. All right, guys. It's good to see everybody here. I haven't done this for a while. Tack may stop by in a little bit. Let's just wait and see. I think, his girlfriend is with, family today, and she's going to text him to come hang out at some point. So he doesn't have a ton of time, but oh, no, he's not coming. All right, they're leaving, so he has to go. Mariana called him, so he's not coming now. Okay, Nacho is going to dream of Musa tonight. All right, here we go. Here's a one from Matt Poliquin. I love both American football and soccer. Good for you, man. Pete, what are, in your opinion, are the top 10 soccer leagues in the world? Oof, that's so hard to say. In terms of quality or in terms of entertainment value, Matt? But I think what you mean is quality, like the best 10. So I'm going to go with the obvious 5 or 6, which are England, Spain, Germany, Italy, and France. So those have traditionally been the top 5. Now, UEFA, they have these coefficients that judge leagues. They just had Portugal jump up above France. So I guess that would be in the top 6 for me. Holland has to be in that conversation for sure, those 7. Which is already very good. Portugal, Holland. After that, it gets a little more iffy. I think that's where maybe, Belgium has a case to make about, being a good option. That is up there, maybe 8th or 9th after Holland and Portugal. Austria, I'm not as high on. It's hard because I haven't watched a ton of other leagues. The Brazilian league is pretty good. I don't know if it's top 10, but it's pretty close for sure. So that makes maybe 9 right there. And then I haven't seen a lot of Argentina, to be honest. So it's hard to say. Liga MX is not far off. Liga MX is considerably better than MLS, right? We saw that again in CCL this year, yet again. I'm trying to think. Yeah, those would be my 9 or 10, Matt. But yeah, look, American football, I didn't mean to imply that I don't like it. I mean, I don't. It just doesn't. I've tried watching it. I struggle to get into it. And I think a lot of that is just because I didn't play it growing up. And so if you don't play a sport growing up, sometimes you struggle to get into it. Especially the thing that I struggle the most is with all the stoppages. There's a lot of stopping and watching commercials, and I lose it. I lose my attention goes. Hit that like 11 Yanks, the GOAT. Lads of America. Thanks, Zach. Thanks a lot. Alan Senora scored again. Yes, he did. I didn't see his performance, but he did score again. So that's exciting. All right, guys. So let's jump into this here. I'm going to start off by talking about Jesse Marsch at Leipzig, right? They're currently 13th in the table. They've drawn and lost games that they probably shouldn't have drawn or lost. And there are a lot of question marks about what's going on in Leipzig, Here's the thing. It's a complicated situation. It's not a simple, situation where you can point to it and say, Jesse's the problem, or this is the problem, or that's the problem. There's a lot of different issues. M1234, we're so blessed to have you at 11 Yanks. Oh my God, thank you. No, I don't think everybody agrees with you, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, there's several aspects to it, right? The first one that we have to talk about is, Leipzig gutted their team, right? They lost huge players. Upamecano, Konate, and Sabitzer were probably the 3 biggest losses for them. Huge players. And losing those 2 defenders especially hurt them a lot, and even more so because of the way that Jesse wants to play, right? Jesse is a company man, as he said before. He loves the Red Bull style of play. He loves the aggressive high pressing, the gegen pressing, probably even more so than Nagelsmann did before him. Now, that's all well and good. The problem with that is that you can do that. Now, if the opponent is able to play through your press, though, it leaves your defenders having to defend on an island. They have to defend 1v1. They're isolated. And top defenders can do that. But when you sell your two best defenders, the next level up aren't really able to defend on an island, and that's where they're getting punished. It's not like they're playing super badly. If you watch most of their games, and I've seen almost all of them, right? They haven't played terribly. There have been some games where you think they can be better for sure, and definitely you see there's a lack of confidence in certain moments, but they haven't been terrible. What I've seen is a team that is playing a certain way and maybe doesn't have the personnel to consistently play that way as much as they would like, and so therefore is getting punished on the counterattack for it, right? So that is part of having the roster, right? And that's not Jesse's fault necessarily. But what Jesse has to do is Jesse has to look at, who do I have available? Is the style of play that I want to play best suited to the personnel that I have available on the field? And then he has to ask himself, should I adapt my style of play to the players that I have? Because if we keep getting punished like this, then yeah, they're going to keep dropping points and he is going to lose his job if they keep going this way. Now, there's several sides to that. One, I think Leipzig are going to give him a little bit of a leash, right? Because they understand that, they gutted that team. They lost a lot of key players in the summer, especially in defense. And so I don't think they're going to be quick to pull the trigger with Jesse. I think they're going to give him some time to figure it out. And they also understand that, there's a learning curve for Jesse Marsch, right? Coming to the Bundesliga as a head coach is not easy. And playing at that level is not easy. And he's also not just continuing what Nagelmann was doing. He's trying to make it even more so. He's trying to make even a higher press, a more consistent, all-out press. But now Jesse has to adapt. And this is the same complaint, by the way, that we have about Greg Berhalter, is it's great to want to have your own style of play and to see the game a certain way. But at the end of the day, if it's a round peg, square hole kind of a situation, if it doesn't suit your players, then you're setting yourself up to fail. And especially in a league like the Bundesliga or in the Champions League, where you get punished for those kinds of things, And we've seen this from Jesse before when he was at Salzburg, playing very well always with the team, but not always getting the results. And a lot of that, like, for example, let me give you an example of where I thought Jesse could have done better to adapt. You're 2-2 with Bayern at halftime, okay, which is what they were in the Champions League when he was over in Salzburg. And I thought to myself, if you're 2-2, why are you still going to an all-out press to try to win this game? Because you're going to leave yourself wide open at the back, which is exactly what happened. And they ended up losing like 8-3. So in that moment, to get the result, I thought he should have found a way to maybe find the right moments to press instead of just going with an all-out press, and maybe be a little bit more conservative with his tactics. The other side of this coin that a lot of people haven't discussed is that the finishing has not been good from Leipzig. If you look at the last game, and this has happened in quite a few games since Jesse took over, is they've created enough chances. They've gotten the ball to a point where they should be scoring, and they're just not. They're missing chances. They're fluffing chances. And so the excuse for Jesse then is, well, it's not his fault that his team can't finish, right? But on the other hand, yes, that's true on the short term, right? But long term, if your team is struggling to convert chances, that's very likely a confidence issue, right? And confidence issue, maybe that's on the coach, right? I'm not saying it's all on the coach, but certainly if your team is regularly struggling to convert chances, maybe there's a fear. Maybe they're playing with a lot of pressure, maybe they're not playing with that freedom and inflow that you want from players playing that way. So it's not all on Jesse for sure, but at the end of the day, when you're coaching at that level, the buck stops with you. It doesn't matter, there's a lot of good reasons maybe why you're not getting the results that you want. But at the end of the day, it's a results-driven business. And especially for a team like Leipzig that needs to, at the very least, be in the top 4. And if that doesn't look like it's going to happen, they'll let him go. I don't think it will be soon, but if results continue this way, and, you could also lose the dressing room. If the dressing room doesn't believe in what the coach is trying to do, then, that we could see him get fired. And let's face it, Jesse hasn't had a real failure yet in his career. I know he was at Montreal and he got fired after one season, but it was a little bit some weird backroom things going on there with Montreal. That wasn't really his fault. He got them into the playoffs in their expansion year, and he was very good at Red Bull New York and very good at Salzburg. So if he does get fired, that would be, somewhat of a failure, and he would have to learn from it. But that's part of a coaching journey. You're not going to be successful all the time, and you have to learn from your mistakes, and you have to improve, and you have to adapt. Look at Bob Bradley, right? What happened with Swansea? Maybe not all Bob's fault, but certainly I think made him a better coach. So those are my thoughts on Jesse Marsch. I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because I think it's a more complex situation than Twitter allows me to discuss. You know what I mean? And yes, for everybody asking, I think Marsch is a better coach than Berhalter, even though I have certain complaints maybe about his, stubbornness. Jonathan Tuesley says, if Sabitzer was still there, that'd help a lot. Yeah, I agree. I think it would help a lot. Same with Upamecano and same with Konate, right? I think it would absolutely help a lot. All right. Let's talk about Matthew Hobby. There are a couple of players that I wanted to highlight, guys, from this weekend. The first one was Josh Sargent. I thought that Josh Sargent did really well. Even though he didn't score, and even the Norwich fans were talking about how well he did. Now, he played on the right wing, which is not his best position, but he played a lot more of a right wing in the middle third, and then in the attacking third, he would come inside a lot more. So his first start in the Premier League, and he showed well. If he keeps showing well, he'll still get more chances, and we'll just have to see how he develops. It's been a disappointing couple years for Sargent, for both club and country. And I'm really rooting for the guy. I like him. I think he can continue to improve. I think that a lot of Sargent's problems are not so much down to actual ability, but confidence and mentality. And he's still young, and I still believe in him. Would I start him in the opening game against Jamaica? Probably not. But I would have him in the roster, and I would have him off the bench at some point. I think Pepe did enough against Honduras to earn another start against Jamaica. At least I hope he did. I hope, Berhalter gives him another start because I think he deserves it. So Sargent I was very happy with, even though he didn't get a goal or an assist. He almost had an assist, was his teammate missed. I was also happy with Hoppy. He made his debut, came on for the last 30 minutes. He had good moments and bad moments, but overall his off-ball movement was really good. He was aggressive. He didn't look overawed by the occasion. He looked like he was ready to step up and prove himself. I think he even got a yellow card for an opponent with some shit. What's it called? Shit housing. Watke calls it something that's like the perfect term for it. Some shit housing. And I like Matthew Hoppy a lot. He's versatile, right? He can play wide. He can play central. I think he's more of a center forward for us, to be honest. And I hope he gets called in October and maybe gets at least some minutes as a center forward so we can see what he's all about. I really hope shit housing. Thank you. Shit housing. Yes. Shit housing. That we can see what he's all about, because I think he's a massively, massively talented kid. Just came back from, international duty, had his whole big transfer, was just getting up to fitness and speed. And I think Spain will be very good for him because Spain is a very technical league, and he's going to have to continue to improve technically if he wants playing time. So I think he's at a club where minutes are realistic, but not easy. Like, he's not just going to be handed the starting number 9 there, right? He has to continue to perform, which is exactly what you want from a guy like, Hobby. You want them at a level, from all of our players, really. You want them at a level where they are challenged and they are pushed, but it's not so out of their reach that they're just not getting the game time that they need in order to develop. Yeah, and Hoppy did score a goal. He did score a goal, but he didn't it was offside, correctly offside, but you see his ability to finish, right? And that's cool. Vikings just lost. Isaiah Paskins. What's happening today in NFL, by the way? Can someone tell me what's going on? I do not pay attention to these things. Is it like the playoffs, NFL playoffs or something? Is that what happened? Is that where everybody is? I think a lot of people are watching playoffs today. Yeah, Busio. Let's Greg Berhalter. Busio did okay today. I did not watch Busio's game, so I don't want to comment on that. But he did get the assist off of a free kick, which is one of his specialties, right? Is his set pieces. So that was good to see. an 18-year-old, 19-year-old player in, Serie A performing. That was good to see. Oh, it's week 2 of the NFL season. My bad. That's what it is. Okay. Fuck the Cowboys. That's all you need to know. Roshat 2K. When I go to Dallas, I have a lot of family in Dallas. So when I go there for holidays, they always have a Cowboys game playing, and they love the Cowboys so much. And it's so fun to just make fun of the Cowboys. Not because I don't like I don't even care. I just like to make fun of the Cowboys because they get so mad whenever I do. And they keep cutting to the cheerleaders on the sideline. I'm always like, yeah, the game is so awful. The players are so terrible. They have to keep cutting to the cheerleaders, and they always get mad at me, which is fun. Yeah. Nicolas Gioacchini got his first assist for Montpellier, came on as a substitute and did quite well, I thought. I did not see Conrad's game, so it's hard for me to judge. I watched Leipzig. I watched Sargent. I didn't watch Chelsea or Dortmund because no Gio, no Pulisic. I didn't watch Brooks. I watched Scally. I thought Scally was mostly impressive as well. Again, not perfect, but you can see the quality there. And I think Scally is another guy that we should bring in October, right? Because I think we brought not enough quality and way too few players back in September, and that hurt us. Brendan Aronson scored again today. Yeah, that was awesome. Isaiah Paskins, Broncos country, we 2-0. Football over football. Oh, right. Jonathan Towsley. Chris Richards played today. That's right. Did Chris Richards start? I didn't see him. Jonathan, which football are you talking about? Scally or Yedlin at 11 Yanks? Ooh, this is a tough one. In CONCACAF, I would probably say Yedlin, but you can have both. We just need to bring more players. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, how many players we end up bringing in October, because we do need to bring some. Matt Peliquin, do you watch all these games via illegal stream? If so, which one do you use? I watch on Fubo TV mostly. It's a little expensive, but it's worth it because you get a lot of different games. The football you actually play with your feet. Yes, exactly. Kevin Polite, where would you like to see Aronson move up to? Probably Leipzig. I think that Leipzig would be a good place for him, doing well enough at Salzburg, not perfect, right? Of course, I still think he gets pushed off the ball a little bit too easily. But I think maybe not right away, but maybe in January, it might be a good time to head over to a tougher league. And if Leipzig doesn't want him, leave Austria then and go to the Bundesliga. I think going to a higher level will be good for him. S27. Gio Reyna is soccer's Mac Jones. This is where I awkwardly pretend that I know who Mac Jones is. So you might have to explain that one to me. Ilyas Abdi. Would you still bring Musa even if he is getting a lot of minutes? I think what you mean, Ilyas, is if he isn't getting a lot of minutes. Enjoying your content from London. Yes, absolutely, I would bring him. I think he's a lot better than a lot of the options that we have. So yeah, 100% I would bring it. Here's a good question from Dan W. Which players are you currently a little worried about? Ooh, that's a good question. Oh man, I don't know if I'm too worried about anybody right now, simply because I understand that most of our roster is very young. And with young players, there's going to be ups and downs, right? There's going to be, good days and bad days. You're going to have patches of really good form and then a couple of weeks of terrible form. So many things go into form and fitness and ability, especially with young players. I try not to overreact too much to, 1 week or 2 or a couple bad weeks even. Like let's say Caden Clark. A lot of people are freaking out about Caden Clark because ever since he's come back from his surgery, he hasn't been at the same level, and that's been very obvious to see. I'm not too worried about that because I know that Caden Clark has talent and he's 18 years old. And coming back from surgery and having to still perform at a high level is not easy for anybody, right? Especially not for an 18-year-old. And I know at some point he will rediscover his form, get his head right again. A lot of young players, they're very much confidence-based. When things are not going well, it's easy for things to get worse, It's sort of, I'm a confidence-based player. Even when I play with my, friends in the park, if I have a bad touch or I give the ball away unnecessarily or I miss a clear goal that I should have scored, that affects my next one or two actions if I don't get my head straight. Because you start to self-doubt is a big thing for athletes, right? And self-doubt affects technique and confidence and all kinds of things. So to make a long answer short, Dan, I'm not particularly worried about any players that are very young. And most of our players that we're really excited about are very young. So yeah, I'm not super worried about them. If there's one or two guys I have questions about, one of them is Zach Steffen. I'm not sure that staying at Manchester City for another year was the best thing for Steffen, and he needs to be playing. Horvath, those two goalkeeper situations, Horvath as well. Horvath has had a few more games, but he still, when he had the chance to play in the championship, he made a terrible, terrible mistake, and the new coach who came in had him on the bench. So it's going to be a long, hard season for Ethan Horvath to try and win that starting job back, or win it, period, right? I'm a little worried about our goalkeeper situation because I am of the opinion that goalkeepers need to be playing. Like, it was fine to spend 1 year, in my opinion, at Man City for Steffen. I'm sure he can pick up some things and learn stuff. I'm just not convinced that staying there again was the best thing. Just like I'm not convinced Nottingham Forest was the best move for Ethan Horvath. I would rather he have gone somewhere where he could have started. But now that he's there, he has to now work hard every single day to try to win that starting job, or to at least get some chances to play. And then once you get those chances to play, show with your performances that you deserve to be the starting keeper, because Bryce Samba hasn't lit anything up either, right? Gio is the real Captain America. I'm fine with Tyler Adams as captain. Oh, you mean because of Pulisic? Guys, they're different types of players to me, honestly. I personally think that Gio Reyna has a higher ceiling than Christian Pulisic, but I don't like comparing them too much in terms of ability/talent, because I don't think they're the same type of player. I think that Gio Reyna is a better, more well-rounded player. And I think he's better, more physical player too, but he can do it all, Gio Reyna. He can dribble, he can shoot, his passing is excellent. The one weakness in Gio's game a little bit is his defending, but that's true of many creative players, right? I'm not too worried about Christian Pulisic's injuries. Like, I think we just have to understand that that's who Christian is. He is a little frail physically, and he's going to get injured. That's who he is. At this point in his career, I think we have to accept that and not rely on Christian Pulisic. I think that we need to consider, instead of Christian Pulisic being our savior, we need to consider him one of many players we are excited about. Because if we put too much pressure on Wonder Boy, we called him Wonder Boy, he was our guy. And to be fair, for a while, he was our guy. Like, in 2017, he was the only guy on that field that had any class or ability. You could see it, right? But now we don't need to rely so heavily on Christian. We have Gio, we have Weston. Well, we'll see. We have Tyler Adams. We have a lot of talented players that, Tim Weah, Yunus Musa, Pepe, Sargent, Richards, Anthony Robinson, Aronson, Hoppy, De La Fuente. There's so many players we have now. Yeah, they're not all at Christian Pulisic's level, but it has to be a group effort. It has to be a team thing. We have to have everybody contributing. And part of that is on Christian, right? Christian has to understand that he can trust his teammates, right? And part of it is the teammates that you play him with. That's a huge part of it. But sometimes he has a tendency to over dribble because he's such a good 1v1 dribbler with the ball that sometimes he, over dribbles when there are better options. And that's something that he himself is going to need to work on. But part of that is on him. And part of that is also on, I think there's a concern with Christian where, if he comes back to the half line, let's say he's at Chelsea, all right? Let's say this is Christian here, okay? And he comes back. Where's the ball? No ball? Okay. Let's say he comes back to receive the ball here at the halfway point. He has got Chelsea teammates like Jorginho and Kante and Mason Mount, so he can lay the ball off and then drift higher upfield, and he knows that his midfield has the quality to find him in those positions where he can be dangerous, right? But sometimes I feel, and I could be wrong, this is just an observation of mine, that with the national team, when Pulisic gets the ball here and he passes it in field, he's not so certain he's going to get it in a dangerous area where he can really be effective because of our lack of creativity in midfield. And so he tends to want to go it alone. Now, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying I think that could be a part of his instinct to go it alone. I think part of it is also just that's who he is, you know. Good coaches find ways to help the player understand their role and play that role to the best of their ability. So, all right. How's everybody doing? Is Dortmund's recent success a threat for Reina making the starting lineup coming back? Not really. Reina was very good before he left. I mean, he had 2 goals before he got injured in like 4 or 5 games. So I don't think it's a threat at all. I think that he's going to be just fine, you know. Oof, Ilyas Abdi. Who would win between England and the USMNT with both best 11s? Definitely England at this point. I mean, in a one-off, of course. In a one-off game, anything can happen, you know. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, England would win. They just have more quality. I mean, they made it to the Euro finals. They're just a better team across the board. Greg Berhalter, I like the intentional clearing of the throat after saying our national team has no creativity in midfield. LOL at 11 Yanks. All right. Let me think. Yay. Thanks for showing the tactical analysis on the board. Oh, thanks, John. Yeah. I think I'm a very visual learner. So sometimes I find it easy to demonstrate things with the board because it helps people to understand what I'm talking about, for at least people who are visual learners like me. Some people are not. They're auditory or they're experiential learners. There's all different types. Okay. Have you seen in-depth video breakdowns of Weah? No, I have not. Here's a good one by Larry Gaines. Rate these guys in terms of highest ceiling. Weah, Hoppy, Aronson, Sargent, and Conrad. Ooh, that's a good question. Weah, Hoppy, Aronson, Sargent, and Conrad. Ooh, that's tough, man. I think they're all very close. A lot of those guys are very, very close. I'm gonna. This is very tough. I think Conrad has the highest ceiling, to be honest. I really do. I think nobody in our pool, except maybe Christian Pulisic, has his close control and ability on the ball 1v1, and he's still so young. He's still just 19. I think that right next to him is Matthew Hoppy. I think that Hoppy is a complete player because he has the skill and technique of a guy like Pulisic or De La Fuente, but he has the physique. He's tall. He has the physique of a guy like Sargent, you know, or even Pepe. He's got a big physique and he's very tall. So he's not just technical and quick. He's also big and athletic, and that matters. So I think he's right there. So I'd probably say first Conrad, second Hoppy. After that, I would say Sargent. I really believe that Sargent has a very high ceiling. I think that most of Sargent's issues right now are mental, not technical. I think that Sargent is a confidence player. And that could, in the long run, that could affect him and his development for sure, right? Because mentality is a huge part of the game. If he can rediscover his confidence again and play like the guy who was playing at the Under-20 World Cup, at the Under-17 World Cup, then I think he still has a very high ceiling. I don't think he's a world-class striker, but I think he's a 10 to 15 goal a season in a top 5 league player at his ceiling, in my opinion. Where are we? After that, I would say Aronson. I think Aronson has a lot that I like. There's a lot that I like about Aronson. He still gets pushed off the ball a little bit too much, for my opinion. And he isn't always, his vision is not as good as I would like. I'm not knocking him here, by the way. I'm just saying things that I think will stop him from being an elite player, or things that will prevent him from being world-class, you know? And then last is Weah. I like Weah, to be clear. I think that Weah offers a very specific quality that we need in the national team. And that is what Greg likes to call verticality from the wings, from the wide areas. I think he offers that, and I think he's a technical player. My concern with Weah is that too often he goes missing during games. And I don't know if it's because he's hiding or because he switches off. He doesn't get very involved in the play. He isn't very good 1v1, right? He's pretty good. I would say he's pretty good in terms of connecting with players around him. Okay, so combination play. But it just feels to me like Weah for the last 4 years hasn't made a lot of progress. And I know he had that big injury 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. I hope I'm wrong about Weah, but it just feels like he should be improving, and he hasn't improved dramatically. But again, with all of these guys, they're so young that we can't draw any conclusions yet. You know what I mean? It's like, look at, I'm trying to think of a good example of somebody who exploded much later in life, and there are guys who, really didn't come to the scene until 24, 25, 26. You see the talent is there, you see the ability there, but the consistency isn't always there. And I think that can happen with young players sometimes. So I'm not judging any of these guys yet. Weah may end up being the best of all of these. We just don't know. Yeah, Jamie Vardy, Raheem Sterling. Someone said Zardes. It's actually true. Zardes improved a lot when he went to Columbus, right? And they made him a proper center forward. I think a lot of that was Greg working on his off-ball movement, which was good, but didn't take Zardes to the level that, he's actually a good player. I just don't know, Larry. Any of these guys could be at the top. We just don't know with young players. I'm just basing it on what I've seen from them so far and what I've seen and what I'm seeing now, right? All right. Grealish. Yeah, Grealish is a guy who took a long time to develop, Dan. Absolutely. Joe Scally has started every game for Mönchengladbach so far. He better be in the roster for October. This is actually a good time to transition into roster discussions, guys, because, and by the way, on Tuesday, I'm going to do a detailed breakdown of who all should be in the roster, who I think should be there, but who I think Greg is going to bring, because I also think Greg is excited about bringing in some guys in October that maybe the vast majority of us are not that excited about, right? So we brought 26 last time when we named the roster, right? Carter Hazlitt says, haven't left my basement all day watching the NFL. I guess it's healthy to balance that with some USMNT talk, LOL. I think a lot of people are still watching NFL. Let's talk about this roster. We brought 26, and we knew from the beginning Christian Pulisic had COVID. All right, so that immediately made it 25, at least for the first game, or at least a question mark. Then, before anybody even got together, Weah was out of Lille's game day roster. So we knew he was out. So really, that brought that roster down to 24, and we didn't bring any replacements until it was too little, too late. So 24 players for a 3-game window was really poor from Greg Berhalter, refusing to replace those guys. And I think ultimately, I know that there are concerns that, after, for example, the El Salvador game, we couldn't bring guys from Europe because of all the quarantine protocol. Well, we should have replaced Tim Weah when we could have. We should have brought a bigger roster because we knew this was a possibility. Guys playing 3 games a week in CONCACAF, you're going to have some injuries. There's very unlikely that you're not going to have any injuries. And we lost Dest, we lost Reyna, we lost Stefan. Weston had to be sent home for his indiscretions. It really hurt us. So I'm hoping we get 30 players, right? 30 players on the initial roster. Now people say, well, who would you bring and who would you take out? So of the 26 players who are there, very likely Gio Reyna will not be there in October because originally he was supposed to be back by the 25th of September, but now they're saying there's going to be a delay in that. So if there's a delay after the 25th, I don't know. But I think if I'm a betting man, I'm placing money that maybe Reyna will be back in time, but maybe not enough for Greg to call him, right? So that brings it down to 25. Then I would also not bring Tim Ream and Christian Roldan, right? So that would bring it down to 23. Then I would add the following 7 players. These are who I would add, by the way, not who I think, Greg is going to add. The guys I would add to these rosters Joe Scally. All right. So again, I would still bring all 4 fullbacks that we brought last time, but I would bring Joe Scally as a 5th option because, by the way, he can also play on both sides. I would bring Chris Richards. I would bring Julian Green. I would bring Yunus Musa. I would bring Luca De La Torre. I would bring Matthew Hoppe. And I would bring Nicolas Giacchini. So those are the 7 players that I would add to the roster. Now, obviously, there might be an injury or two. Some other guys to maybe keep an eye out for to see if they could be options as well, who I think that probably Kevin Paredes is another guy that I would bring. The reason I want to bring Kevin Paredes is because, A, we don't have a lot of left-footed players in our pool, right? And Kevin Paredes is versatile. He can play left back. He can play left wing back. He can play left wing, right? So I would bring Kevin Paredes. Probably those 7 or 8 guys. Very likely, though, I think that Greg Berhalter is going to bring – he'll bring some of those guys. I don't think he's going to bring all of them. I think hopefully he brings Chris Richards, right? I think he's more likely to bring Paul Arriola, Giassi Zardes, maybe Jesus Ferreira, guys like that from MLS that he trusts and has worked with for a long time, So Busio, yeah, Jake Anderson is asking Busio. Maybe Busio, Alan Sonora, Josue, I don't know. I haven't seen Sonora play. I know he scored a couple of goals recently, but it's hard for me to comment on him because I don't watch the Argentine league. I can't even find it anywhere. DK, I don't know if he brings DK. It depends who else. Like, if he brings the same, he's going to bring Pepe. He'd better bring Pepe. There's no way he doesn't bring Pepe. He's going to bring Sargent. I think he's going to bring Sargent. And he's probably going to bring Pifok as well. So maybe he brings a 4th striker like Zardes. I think he's going to bring Zardes. I don't think he's going to bring DK, though. Keaton Parks, I doubt it. Michael Goldberg. Justin Che, I also doubt it. Ilyas Abdi makes a good point here. And this will absolutely impact the roster as well. Nope, that's not it. There we go. Don't forget, Panama is on the red list, so the UK-based players will not be there. Yes, that is true. Now, those UK players will be in the roster and should be, in my opinion, but they won't be able to travel to Panama. So that rules out the following: Zach Steffen, Ethan Horvath, Josh Sargent, Christian Pulisic. I think that's it. And Tim Ream, I guess. Those 5. Oh, and Anthony Robinson, 6, which is a lot. That's a lot of guys. It's possible that we see a different goalkeeper. Like, it's possible we don't see Ethan Horvath. Because of that situation, it's possible that Greg brings like a Sean Johnson instead of Ethan Horvath, because if 2 of our players come from England, we can't only have Matt Turner in Panama. We need a good backup. So it's possible that he leaves off Ethan Horvath, or that he just brings John. Remember, there's no limit on the size. You can bring 32 guys. There's no limit. So bring 4 goalkeepers. You know what I mean? You can send Steffen and Horvath home after the 2nd game, right? And then you just take 2 goalkeepers to Panama, But then, like, I guess Tim Ream, for example, there's another good reason to not call him up, right? Remember, guys, we are trying to qualify for the World Cup, but we're also trying to build for the World Cup, right? And so players that aren't going to be in Qatar, in my opinion, maybe we can afford to let some of them not be in some of these camps, especially if we think we have considerably better options, which we do. All right. Garland Cyrus. I think it's Cyrus. I'm still put off by the Dest and John Brooks showings. Dest feels like he feels he's already arrived because of being at Barca, which means nothing. And John Brooks has gotten used to no competition over the years. I agree with you, Garland. I wasn't happy with their showings either, right? However, because of, where they play and who they are and the level that they're at, you give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes, right? So that window, that was not great. And if I'm Greg, I'm having an honest conversation with both of them and just, reminding them that's not good enough. If that continues, then you drop them. For example, I think Greg sent a very good message halfway through the Honduras game. And I don't agree with Greg on a lot of things, but this is one of the things I agree with him on, is pulled off John Brooks at halftime, right? John Brooks needed to know that was not okay. And also, it wasn't just the Honduras game. It was also the Canada game where he fell asleep on that equalizer. Now, I know it wasn't all on John Brooks, and I've talked about this, but I do think that you have to send that message to the team. And yeah, I'm with you, Garland. I don't think it's as big a deal as some people are saying. They shouldn't start the next games. I still think you let John Brooks start that game against Jamaica, but he should know he's on thin ice, right? And part of that, too, is also Greg understanding that if you play a certain way and you have John Brooks stepping into midfield, maybe he isn't going to, sprint back as much as you would like to help cover behind him if the ball is played in behind. So there's that aspect to it, too. But generally speaking, Garland, yes, I agree with you. I do think having Dest play on the right is better, right? He was better against Canada when he was on the field. Now, he did get burned that one time by Alphonso Davies. And I think that is, again, there's still concerns with Dest, especially defensively. But more importantly, attitude. I 100% agree that the attitude and maybe the feeling that, well, we play at an elite level so we can just breeze through CONCACAF is, maybe a mentality there. And I think that hopefully the first 3 games showed not just them, but all of them, that it doesn't matter where you play, right? If you're not willing to do the dirty work that CONCACAF requires, then you may not be effective in CONCACAF no matter how talented you are, right? And that's where you see a guy like, Kellen Acosta, for example, who I've been critical of. And I still think that Kellen Acosta has technical limitations in a lot of different ways. But when he goes and plays in CONCACAF, he plays with his heart on his sleeve. He gives 100% on the field every time. And so it's hard to argue against him at least being Tyler Adams' backup, and that's huge to have guys like that in your roster. I'm not saying they should start, but they earn their places on the roster with the right mentality. And everybody in the next roster is going to have to show up with that mentality, because even though the games are still easier, right? We have Jamaica at home, we have, Costa Rica at home, and then we have Panama away. We still have, there are still question marks, right? There are still questions about this group, chemistry, creativity, ideas about playing in the final third, cohesiveness, mentality. There are still questions that we saw a good comeback in the second half of Honduras, but there are still a lot of people asking questions about this group and also about Berhalter and his handling of this group. Will Weston McKennie come back? And what will he be like when he comes back, right? Will he pick up where he left off? Is there going to be bad blood there? What's his relationship with Berhalter, with the other players? I don't know. I think a lot is riding on this October thing. We need to get 7 points, guys. There's no excuses. 7 points should be the absolute minimum, ideally 9. Right? Because if they're saying, oh, no, you can't win away. First of all, we just beat Honduras 4-1. Second of all, we have 2 games at home and we have 1 away. Right? So that should be minimum 7 points. Minimum 7 points. Okay? Greg Berhalter. I love it when the USMNT head coach asks me for advice. At what point in the World Cup qualifying cycle do we need to solidify our roster to start getting more time together and create chemistry for Qatar? I think we should start building chemistry now. So I think that's why you bring a big roster. Part of the reason you bring a big roster is for depth and cover, but partially also if Chris Richards, for example, who A, is ready to contribute now, B, if he's healthy, he's going to be in Qatar. There's no question about it, at least in my mind. So you want him with this group, learning the way they train, building chemistry, building cohesion, building camaraderie, learning about Greg's training methods, learning about the systems that they're trying to play, getting used to being like a band of brothers, right? Has anybody seen that show, Band of Brothers? It's a great show. And I love using military references because it's very true. My brother did 2 tours in Iraq. He did 1 tour in Afghanistan. And when I hear him talk about his vet buddies, he always talks about them like they're family, right? Even though they're not. And that is because they've been in the trenches together, right? They've fought together, they've died together, they've survived together, they've bled together, and so that builds really strong bonds. And bringing in players, it's like coming to the trenches of CONCACAF. Build that chemistry together, build those bonds really tight. Hey guys, we went through this CONCACAF campaign together and we emerged successful and now we're ready for a World Cup and we're a tight team. So a guy like Kevin Paredes, for example, if you think, and I do, that he could be a guy that ends up in Qatar, let's start incorporating him into the team now, even if he doesn't get a ton of minutes. If he's a 29th or 30th or 31st player on your roster, then, maybe he is a guy that you want to bring in early enough, I don't think it's ever too early. We need to build a really strong team. Qatar is just over a year away. It's not that far away. And we're a very young team. And the more experience that we have together as a unit, it can only be good for this team. So Berhalter has no excuse to call any less than 30 players in this next window. And if he doesn't, I'll be very disappointed with him. And not just the amount that he's calling, but who he's calling matters, in my opinion, right? Because if we get Paul Arriola and Jassy Zardes and, Jackson Ewell again, I can't keep talking about this. All right. This is a very good one from from Brian Ellis. Will Greg fix the midfield problems? If we can't play through the middle third, then we will continue to struggle. Yeah, look, this is, again, something I feel like a broken record every time I talk about it. If you are only going to have athletes in midfield and no creative players, you're going to struggle to create. So many of our problems start and end in midfield, right? The reason Reina and Pulisic are probably not as effective as they could be in that final third is look where they're getting the ball. Look how deep. Rewatch all the games that they've played in. So often they have to come back and receive the ball so deep, and then they have two options. One, they can lay it off to a teammate and continue their run into the final third, or they have to take it alone. Neither of those is good options, because if they lay it off, there's no creative players that can find them with a good ball, right? So that's where a lot of our problems stem from. And this is no secret, but I said that this team is not going to reach their full potential. We will not see this USMNT team at their best possible potential until we give the midfield to Gio Reyna, right? Gio Reyna is the most talented, creative player that we have, in my opinion, and should be playing. Whether you want to call it a dual 8, whether you want to play a 4-2-3-1 and give him the 10, whether you want to play a 4-4-2 diamond and you want to put him at the tip of it, Gio Reyna is that guy, in my opinion. And the fact that we didn't even try him there against El Salvador, and then he got injured and we didn't get to see him there at all, is a shame. And now we're not going to see him there, right? We're not going to I think it's unlikely that we will see him there, right? So that's why I'm hoping we get guys like Luca De La Torre, Yunus Musa, Julian Green. If you're going to play Sebastian Lletget there, play him higher up the field, right? For example, against Canada. And by the way, I'm not a fan of Lletget, but if you're going to play Sebastian Lletget, when he was in Canada, in the Canada games, so often Lletget was back here with Tyler Adams in the build-out, right? I'm sorry, I know this is confusing, guys. Let me get this here for you. Okay, so this is our back four. All right, these four here is the back four. This is Tyler Adams. So often, not only Lletget, but Lletget and Acosta were sitting here next to Tyler Adams to help with the build-out. And neither of them is very effective there, especially not Lletget. The few moments where we had actually Lletget show something, not a ton of creativity, but a little bit of combination in midfield. He had that pass for Aronson. Was where? When Lletget was here in the final third. And again, I'm not a fan of Lletget, and I think he does some things well, but not enough to justify starting, right? And that's where Berhalter and I disagree, and that's where Colin Reese and I disagree, and a few others. But my main issue is, if you're going to play Lletget, he's more effective here. He's a little, because he can combine a little bit with players and find little wide passes to the wingers and get in the right place to score goals, right? We saw this against Honduras. He's good at making those late runs. And if you give him an opportunity, oftentimes he will score it. Again, I think we have significantly better options, but if you're going to play Lletget, at least play him in a position where he can be more successful than having him sit next to Adams in the build-out. That's my take on Lletget right now. So I would like to see, ultimately, guys, what I would like to see is a 4-2-3-1. Now, I'm not talking about this particular window because I don't think we'll see it. I don't think because Gio Reyna's not there. But at some point, I would like to see Adams and McKennie in the 2, and then Pulisic, Reyna, and then either Aronson or Weah or even Hoppy. No, probably Aronson or Weah. as that third attacking sort of inside midfielder, and then either Pepe or Sargent or Hoppy or even Gioacchini up front, or a 3-5-2. I'd be fine with that too. But it's either a 4-3-3 for Berhalter or it's that weird 3-4-2-1 that he tried to pull off against Honduras, which didn't exactly, pan out, as we all know. All right. A couple more minutes, guys, and then I'm going to sign off, okay? All right. Which USMNT player scores the most goals this season in Europe? Ooh, it's a good question. I'm going to say Gio Reyna. I mean, he's ahead of everybody. Well, I guess Europe is a big one. You have Aronson too, right? So depends where. If you're talking about all of Europe, that's a different story. But I think if you're talking about the top 5, 6, 7 leagues, I'm going to say Gio Reyna. In all leagues together, it's going to be between Reyna and Aronson, in my opinion. They're the ones balling out right now. And I think, I think that, Pulisic will continue to be injured. Let's look at this Golden Ballon d'Or. Oh, no, it's not the Ballon d'Or. What's it called? The 40-man list. There's 3 Americans on the 2021 Golden Ball, right? Which is for young players. Is that correct? Have I got that right, guys? I think I saw it this morning. Let me just find it. Which were the 3 Americans that were on it? Oh, yeah, Pifok. I forgot about him, guys. Pifok could be another guy's top scorer. He plays in Switzerland, so he should be. He should be, definitely. Pete, why aren't you watching Sunday Night Football? I'm not a big football fan, guys. But now that the NFL has started, guys, let me know if you want to move these live streams to like Saturday. I don't want to get in the way of people's NFL Sunday. If you want to watch NFL Sunday, I can do these streams another time, So just let me know, because, I'm more flexible with my streams. The NFL isn't exactly stressful. Isn't exactly flexible. We've got Phil Foden, Pedri. We've got Ilkay Gundogan, Mason Mount, Neymar. Oh, this is not the Golden Ball. Isn't it called Golden Boy or something, guys? Someone tell me what this is actually called, because I don't know, what this was called again. I'm completely like, Pete, did you see the Bears game? No, I did not. I don't really watch NFL, guys. I know this is going to make me lose popularity points with you, but I was born and raised abroad, and I didn't come back to the U.S. until I was 26. And then when I got here, I was like, okay, let me go find which American sports I can adopt. And I went and watched all of them, and my least favorite was NFL. It was just so much stopping and so much waiting. And also, I think because I didn't play it, I don't really understand all the tactical patterns of play. It's a very coach-heavy game, right? A lot of playbooks, a lot of that. And I'm more of a fan of player-centric games. So I didn't love it. Nothing wrong with it. It's just, for me personally, not my thing. Not Elon Musk says, just wanted to say that as a newish soccer fan, you and Filippo provide great perspective into the actual sport and changed how I watch soccer. Thank you so much, not Elon. I appreciate that. I think we do our best. We do our best. So here's my rating of the American game. So I watched the four American sports, right? Hockey, football, basketball, and baseball. My number one favorite was hockey because, very similar to soccer, very high action, lots of playing, goals, high intensity. My only complaint with hockey was I could never see the puck. So that was a problem. My second favorite was basketball, again, just because of the action back and forth, the high intensity. It's an invasion sport, right? So high intensity game. My only real complaint with basketball was it was too easy. Like the score lines were too high. You're talking winning 104 to 102. I was just like, oh my God, there's not even a celebration when they get a basket because it's just like ka-thonk, ka-thonk, ka-thonk. So that was kind of my issue with basketball, but that was my second. My third favorite was football because, again, it's an invasion sport, interesting. I mean, not super interesting, but still better than baseball. Baseball, I just couldn't. More standing around and only one or two players doing anything. It was a snooze fest. I even went to Wrigley Field in Chicago to watch it live. I was like, let me see if I can get into the atmosphere. I just couldn't, guys. I just couldn't. And once you spend the whole day, I mean, your whole life watching soccer and soccer only, it's very hard to get into other sports, you know. But if Sunday NFL is an issue for people, I can try to move these to Saturday. Maybe you guys let me know if that works for you. If you let me know in the chat below. Okay, let's look at this golden ball situation. Golden ball. I can't find it anywhere. Does somebody have a link or something? Because I can't find it. I thought it was called the Ballon d'Or under 21 or something. I'm not sure. But someone tell me, who are the 3 Americans who are on there? Gio Reyna, I know, is for sure. Was Conrad one of them? Golden Boy. Maybe that's what it is. Golden Boy 2021 here. Nominees. Okay, yeah, here we go. Found it. 40 finalists. And according to Marsch, these are the 40 finalists that we will talk about here. If I can ever pull it up. All right, so we have Karim David Adeyemi, Brian Brobby, Jude Bellingham, Brian Hill. Oof. I'm not going to go through this entire list, guys. There's too many non-Americans for me to care about. Mason Greenwood. Someone just tell me who the 3 Americans are. It's Reyna. Brian Reynolds is in it. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. Joseph says, I feel eventually Greg will play Gio at the 10, and when he finally does, the media will praise him for the genius move that no one thought of. It'll be hard to do that considering he already plays there for Dortmund. I mean, I've been asking for this for a year now, and the one argument that people made, which I thought was fair, was he doesn't even play there for his club, so why are you asking there to play for his country? My counter argument to that was his club has many other players who can play in that position. We don't. So that was my counter argument. But now they have no more argument because he plays there for Dortmund. And we still don't have anybody who can really play as a creative midfield that we can actually build the attack through. Shrey Set says, I'd rather you keep it Sundays because Saturdays for me are for soccer and college football. Oh, okay. Do you play on Saturdays? Hey, Joshua, how are you, man? Long time no see. Joshua Simmons is like one of the original fans. It was Reynolds, Musa, Reyna, and Balogun, if he counts. Yeah, I wouldn't count Balogun yet, but that's cool. So we have Reynolds, Reyna, and Musa. I'm a little surprised that Reynolds is there. He was benched, not even benched, but taken off the game day roster by Mourinho this week for Tiri. So I think Reyna is probably in the mix. I don't think he's going to win it, though. But for me, Reyna should be top 5. Top 5 under 21 player in the world for sure. I'm thinking, Pedri certainly is probably, in the mix ahead of him. Probably also Fati. Those 2, I think, would be ahead of Gio Reyna. Camavinga might be ahead of Reyna, although that's debatable in my opinion. But definitely, I think Reyna should be in top 5. I think Pedri is better than Reyna right now. I think he's a little more complete than Reyna. But who knows what could happen in the future, Connor Suez, thoughts on Sargent and if he should continue starting for us. I don't think he should start the next game. I think we should give the next game to Pepe, just because I think Pepe earned another start. But I'm not of the mindset that we should throw Sargent on the trash heap like some people want us to do. He's still very young. He's still, I think, like I've said many times, I think a lot of his issues are mental more than quality based. And I think when he gets over that hump, we'll see the original Josh Sargent. So yeah, that's my quick thoughts on Sargent. Last 1 or 2 questions, guys, and then I think I'm going to have to head out. Kevin Polite says, Pedri, Sancho, Fati, Bellingham. I don't think Bellingham is better than Gio Reyna. I think Gio Reyna is better than Jude Bellingham. I mean, I know they're different kinds of players, but I think that Reyna is better. This is my favorite one. We still haven't thrown Yule or Roldan on the trash heap. Sarge can stay. Yeah, exactly. We're willing to give so many chances to Acosta, Yule, Roldan, Leggett, Zardes, Areola, endless opportunities, Ream. If we can be that patient with those guys, I think we can be patient with, with Josh Sargent. All right. Best, here's from Joshua. Joshua, good to see you, man. I miss you, buddy. Best team to watch for you in MLS. I like watching Dallas, but not because of how they play. I like just watching their young players play. Like watching Ferreira and Pepe and Pomykal and what's his name? Justin Che, But as far as pure entertainment, Seattle, Atlanta, LAFC, Columbus, a lot of teams that play good quality soccer. But Philadelphia and Dallas are my two favorite because of all the young Americans, So let's see. Last question of the day. What do we got here? Matt Miazga played well for Alaves. Yes, he did. I didn't see that, but I did hear that. Yes. Wait, Dallas fired their coach? No, I did not see that. Luchi Gonzalez is gone? That's interesting. When did this happen? Oh, just today. Like an hour ago. I wonder why that is. What's their place in the table? They really low down. Let's see. In the Western Conference, Dallas is 11th. Yeah, well, that makes sense. That makes sense then. He had a lot of time at Dallas. He had 3 or 4 years. Or 3 years, I think, to prove what he could do, and he hasn't really done that yet. So, all right, guys, I do have to get going here. Thanks for coming to do the hang. This was really fun. We haven't done this in a while. We'll do this next week. I don't know if I'll continue doing this Sunday. If you guys would rather go watch, NFL Sunday, or if that's getting in the way, if there's a conflict, let me know. I might move it to Saturday, but then some people have issues with Saturday as well. So maybe we'll just keep it for whoever wants to show up, even if there's fewer people. That's fine by me. Watching soccer, talking about soccer, I'll do that regardless, even if there's only 3 people. So totally up to you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your NFL Sundays. Quick teaser. Okay. On Tuesday, we have a roster video coming out projecting the full roster for October, both what I would do and what I think Greg is going to do. And then on Thursday, we have a very exciting interview with Hercules Gomez at both my channel and at Filippo's channel. So that's going to be really fun. Herc Gomez had a lot to say, and I think it's a very interesting interview, a lot about the state of the USMNT and where we're at and the media and the fan base and a lot of things. So keep your eyes out for those 2 video guys. Roster should drop not this coming week, but the week after that. So that's going to be exciting. Thanks for coming to hang. You guys are awesome. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and video out on Tuesday. Don't forget. All right. Take care, guys.